hierarchy of the order because it goes vice president. So.
As you all look through, please think about, and you're reading the personal events, if you can think about and contextualize those personal events with what was going on at the time in the field, and also what was going on nationally and globally. We would talk more about that in the debrief.
I would have said something. I don't know about these things. I would have said, I don't know, but I would have That's the only thing I love.
Spent a month on that.
It's on file in my study.
Okay, just to let the group know about, in about 5 minutes I'll check in to see where you are in reading the timeline and if you need more time. So keep that in mind as you're reading.
Because I'm not giving up. I gotta go back.
As far as I'm concerned.
85%. Well, I'd say about 65% Americans, Latinos. So what's the goal? But my goal is the problem is when I graduate, that number's been higher for American. Baltimore's got they're truancy rates like games. So it's about them getting in school and it's also an environment where they want to be. Because the streets are Washington, the streets are college. There's probably success out there. There's not a classroom. Like a study.
He wasn't invited throughout to tomorrow. At least this is a start.
Quick time check, about 2 more minutes.
You never did.
Addendum. King County. She just got
That was it. That was the moment.
So I will.
Everyone has seen every single comment, and what we're going to do is proceed on the basis of what you have seen and have an opportunity to talk about that. And we're going to go till about 3 o'clock, and then the people that stayed behind after lunch suggested that we do this piece and then follow up with asking you 3 questions that move us from some of the more personal and historical to the future. And so the questions have to do with essentially where do you want to be going? So that's what we'll check in with you at 3 o'clock about and find out.
Good for you.
I think it felt very rich. I like the idea that it was collective. That if we had sort of stayed in different things and done things for 5 minutes, I'm not so sure that we would have gotten the range of things. And I think we had talked about certain people sort of staying in different decades to do something. But I think a lot of us have started at a certain decade and then moved forward. And so you had the old farts that started really early on and then had more decades to do, but you got something in each piece. So, and it was interesting to see the richness, but also the reminiscence that people had during significant times. And it's also interesting to see our memories match on different things, you know, like Violence Against Women's Act, batterers intervention programs developing, battered women's shelters programs, so when the sexual assault movement started, and seeing those different things that happened during that period of time. So it's interesting, the collective wisdom, but so not only teaching, right, but also learning, you know, so that's what I like.
I don't know if Brooks was you just out again. It's hard to see the people down there where we have to. Thank you, guys. Sorry. Thanks, guys.
So what else struck you about when you were reading through all these post-its up on the wall? What else struck you?
The international dynamics. There was some posters about things that happened in India, I think. What was this? No, the Chinese Revolution down here. And there's some things that happened in Africa that seemed like seminal events for people, and some things in Mexico and Central America and El Salvador. So it was in Afghanistan, the row was forming. So I was struck by the international dynamic of what was seminal moments for people.
There's also some references to the books that were becoming important books to be reading. Snodgrass on sexism and Andrea Dworkin's work. I mean, that there was a consciousness that through the timeline of what the literature was starting to make manifest in at least the part of the alternative culture that was paying attention.
I was struck by the fact that we do have a history, and it's modest from some perspectives, but it's significant from some other perspectives, and something that we can feel affiliated with and connected to.
It was interesting to see people's personal experience around, I guess what kind of brought them to the work. It was maybe a particular act came out, or they went to a particular conference, or heard someone speak. I thought that was kind of significant.
For me, part of it was reflecting on who I am. I started this work when I was 17. When I was 17 years old. And some of the struggles and the changes that I've gone through over 25 years.
I didn't realize, but I didn't expect to realize that there's so much history, because my work is not, I don't know much about any of this. My work is not out of this, to my knowledge, in terms of some direct association, in terms of anti-violence work. And it's interesting to see all that people have been doing. But I do know that from my limited exposure, what I did see didn't seem culturally inviting to me, which is one of the reasons why I didn't become a member of the movement. Because for me, the work has to be explicitly and directly relevant for me to want to be in the space, or else it can be violating to my spirit. So that's one of the reasons why I think I didn't douse into it and wasn't interested in knowing all of this stuff. But it's still interesting to see. And just by chance, I don't know if it's by chance or not, I ran into John at this women's human rights retreat in Palm, who I met before in Oakland for a split second. and got a chance to find out more about his wife's work, who I never even heard of. And she and I fell in love at first sight when we first met, and had a real strong connection. So that was kind of organic. I don't know how it happened, but it happened. And now I realize who she was, because my best friend on earth is a dorkinologist. Seriously. I mean, I'm not trying to be funny, I'm very serious. And when she found out that I knew John and knew his partner, she fainted. I mean, she was like, what?
You all had a stack of cheese.
2 stacks. I mean, seriously, so it's interesting how it's occurring, but I didn't know this.
I remember back in the early 70s, working with a bunch of different men's groups, noticing that young men would a lot would just kind of drop out after a while. They'd get very involved, and then they'd kind of move on to other things. And what's remarkable about this timeline to me is that it represents that something has really changed, that there are men in this room who are in it for the long haul. And that couldn't have been predicted when I got started in this in the 70s. I was reminded of it when Russ said he was 17.
Yes, that would be the long haul. Thank you, Michael. Give it the love.
I was reminded of some of the men that didn't make it, and that I've worked with over the years. And you mentioned John, Harrison Sims. There were just a whole lot of men who died or got completely wiped out by doing the work in some way or another. And just made me think of who they are, remind me of them.
But what strikes me about this is when I think, when I first thought about doing a timeline about the movement, I thought, well, all this part will be about white folks doing stuff, but it's not true. And actually, I like the multicolor post-its too, because the way that we did it shows that everybody was doing the movement in different levels, personally, professionally. Some people got to publish, some people were just in the trenches at that point, but there's this parallel movement